Welcome back, guys. Let's get started. The first step I like to do when I'm making my carrot cake is toast my walnuts. My oven is on 400 degrees and I toast these for about 6 minutes. So I have about 3 cups of walnuts. You can use more, you can use less. If you have an allergy, stay away and just go ahead and get your ingredients out for your cake. So I'm going to put these in the oven for 6 minutes on 400 degrees. Once those are done, I'm going to take those out and let those cool. Our next step is to get our dry ingredients ready. So as you can see, I have a sifter on top of my bowl. This just helps us sift through the flour and incorporate the ingredients a little better when we sift in all of our dry ingredients together. It just makes it a little bit more amazing. And you can buy one of these from Walmart, the dollar store, or any Target, wherever. They're really inexpensive, but they're cool to have in your kitchen. You can use them for so many things. I use it for decorating my desserts and so much more. So here you'll see that I'm going to add more flour because we have so much. So I'm going to sift this flour, and I'm also going to sift my spices into this bowl. Don't worry about your sugar right now because your sugar is going to be used for the wet ingredients. So we have cinnamon, salt, ginger, allspice, nutmeg, all in here. And I also have my baking soda and baking powder, but I did forget to add it here, so you're going to see me sift that after we do our wet ingredients. But please, if you don't forget, just also try to sift in your baking soda and baking powder doing this step as well, just so you don't have to go back like I had to go back and sift. So we just want to give that a nice stir because everything is nice and refined. And again, you can see I have all my ingredients out. I like to prep all of my ingredients, measure everything out before I get started on showing you guys recipes, or if I have company, just make it kind of like a routine to prep before you get started. It prevents you running around the kitchen acting crazy. So in that same bowl that I had the flour in, it's just fine, so I'm gonna use it. You see I'm looking like, oh God, my baking powder and baking soda, but I'll come back to that. So we're gonna do our wet batter. So the wet batter, you want to start off with your sugar, and you want to use 2 types of sugar. If you don't have 2 types, feel free to use one. It's totally up to you. I like to use brown sugar, and then I like to use also the white sugar. This is my canola oil. If you don't have canola oil and you only have vegetable oil, please feel free to use it. I like canola oil because it tastes a little better with desserts. It's not that strong in flavor. And here is our vanilla. Like I said, this is our wet batter. So we want to try to add all of the wet ingredients to this other than the sugar and the butter. So we want to put our sugar, and as you can see, I have softened room temperature butter. If you use cold butter, it's going to be a little bit too thick. You can even use melted butter if you want. I don't see that ruining the cake. I do like to just have it at room temperature. So while it's baking, it's kind of like all those flavors are just marinating. Oh, it smells so good. Of course, butter, cinnamon, vanilla is just, I mean, butter, brown sugar, vanilla, it always smells good. But I just want to give that a stir with my spoon before I grab my hand mixer, because we want to get this as smooth as possible. So as you can see around this bowl, I have to the left, you can kind of see a little peek that I have my walnuts over there cooling, and then in front of me I actually shredded my carrots already while I was prepping the ingredients, and then I had them on paper towels to kind of soak up all that moisture from those fresh carrots. Now if you don't want to if you want to save a little time and you don't want to shred your own carrots, of course in the grocery store they sell already shredded carrots. I just prefer fresh carrots when I'm making my carrot cake. It is a slightly different flavor for me, so that's why I did it that way. But if you want to save some time, then the shredded carrots from the grocery store should suffice as well. So we're just giving this a mix and let you guys see it a little bit up close. And as you can see, it's all coming together. We'll give that a stir with our handy dandy, my favorite spatula. Everybody has their favorite things in the kitchen. What is yours? Because my favorite thing is this spatula. If I lose this spatula, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, of course, I'm going to go buy another spatula, but am I going to be able to find the same exact one? I love it. I just love it. So after we scrape the sides of our bowl, you guys already know the routine. We're going to go back in with our mixer, give it a nice mix, and this hand mixer is very inexpensive. You definitely want to have a hand mixer for this recipe to save you a lot of arm work, because there's a lot of mixing going into this with the cake and also with the cream cheese icing. So here we are. I just want to give it a mix, and I kind of switch it from low speed to high speed, just going kind of back and forth. So there you are. Let's give it another scrape. Now this cake is going to be 4 layers. So if you only want to do like a 2-layer cake or a 1-layer cake, then you can just feel free to cut this recipe in half. I like layers. Even with my lasagna, it's like 8 layers. So I love layers. So this is me going back. Like I told you guys, I forgot my baking soda and my baking powder. So I'm sifting that into my dry mixture before I combine the two. And there we are. That's the baking soda and baking powder. And I'm just doing this to just make sure the baking soda and the baking powder are not just all in one spot. I just like to make sure that my dry ingredients are sifted really well. And then as you can see, a few spices, they like to kind of clunk up a little bit. Now, it won't ruin your cake, but like I said, it'll make it better. As you can see, the flour is just like all over the place, looking like little fairies coming up into the screen, but that's fine. Nothing's burning. That's just the flour. So now we have our dry and wet batter. I'm going to move these out of the way and take my paper towels off. Just get them ready. And you see all that moisture? Yeah, we don't want that carrot moisture in our cake. And these are still pretty damp, but they'll be fine. We took most of it out. We're going to set those aside. because my little work area where I'm making this isn't that big. We want to clean as we go. You guys know I make a mess with flour. Flour is so messy. So just kind of wipe down as you go. I like to organize even my dirty dishes. Like I put the bowls with the bowls, the cups with the cups. It just helps. So I'm moving my flour out of this bowl because this is one of the bigger bowls that I have. And then here it is. So I took my wet batter. Let's see. And I'm going to add a little flour. First, I'm going to stir it with a spoon because you don't want to make a huge mess. So you guys know I always start off when I'm incorporating dry ingredients to wet. I like to just kind of manually stir with a spoon or a spatula before I go in with my hand mixer, which you'll see that I'm going to do shortly. Less mess is best. So we definitely want to keep our mess to a minimum. Now here we are, we're going in with the hand mixer. And you're going to do this a few times. About, I want to say, I think I did this about 3 or 4 times. So you just want to add a little at a time just to make sure everything gets nice and mixed. I do not suggest you just dumping the whole dry batter into the wet batter. I do suggest you do them in increments just to incorporate the mixture a little better. And so you can prevent a lot of clumps and lumps and just pockets of flour. So, and this batter is going to look a little thicker than a lot of the recipes you see because I did use softened butter. I didn't use the completely melted butter, and I also didn't use much of the canola oil. As you can see in the description, I have the recipe already listed for you guys. And I like to put the recipe down there just so before you guys start watching the video, you can actually get your ingredients together and prep them all instead of having to watch the whole video. So I hope that helps out. We're going to add some more flour. Like I said, it's just another process. Don't forget to mix in between adding. And it looks a little thick, but we still have to add our 1 stick of melted butter. And we're also going to add our 6 eggs. Now, if you're cutting this recipe in half, you're only going to need 3 eggs. But I have 4 layers of cake, so I'm going to need 6 eggs. You see what happens when I don't mix it? The flour, it gets crazy. So I'm going in. Let's get the rest of this yummy goodness out. Fold it up in there. And guys, if you want to invest in something great for your kitchen, I do suggest you invest in these glass bowl sets. They actually come in sets. You can get them from Walmart, Amazon, Target, a lot of places. They're really inexpensive, but they work wonders. So you see that flour? The flour is just... Y'all, flour is the kryptonite for me in the kitchen. Because I'm also like a really kind of like a neat freak. So the flour just drives me crazy sometimes. So we're going to add our eggs. I like to add about 2 at a time. If I was doing half of this batter, I would just add one at a time. But because I have 6 eggs, I add about 2 at a time. So we want to give this a mix. As you can see, it's still pretty thick, but we have more eggs, and we also have to add our melted butter. Trust the process, guys. Trust the process. I'm not going to steer you wrong. And this is another reason why you want to invest in one of these cheap, inexpensive hand mixers. I believe they sell these at the Family Dollar Tree. Not the Family Dollar, but the Dollar Tree. They sell these. You can get those, especially around the holidays. My dog is snoring. Especially around the holidays, you can find these a lot of places. Of course, my favorite store, Walmart. You can get it from there. So I'm just adding 2 more eggs. Maybe 3 because I'm over it. So I'm adding my last 3 eggs. And I want to get this nice and mixed. Make sure your bowls are big enough for your mixture. This helps, especially when you're mixing, that the splashes of ingredients don't get all over the kitchen, all over your clothes and counters, because the bowl kind of catches that. As you can see, that will be all over my kitchen, but it's not. It's pretty much 90% staying in the bowl. So I'm just mixing my cake batter. Just want to make sure you guys mix it all the way. So whether you have to move your mixer or move your bowl, just make sure you're mixing it all the way. Here we go. Make sure you scrape the sides of the bowl. Always scrape down those sides of the bowl. And then I'm going to give you guys a close-up. I'm adding the melted butter. So that's 1 stick of melted butter. If you don't want to use butter for your recipe, you can always use substitute the butter for your oil. I like butter. So that's why I'm using butter. I just love the flavor of butter. It's a gift and a curse, but it makes everything taste so yummy. Get in with our mixer. And remember when our batter was so crumbly and it just looks like we were making biscuits at first, but nope, we are making carrot cake. You see? And carrot cake was one of my mom's favorite desserts. She loved carrot cake and she loved cheesecake. She's no longer with me because she passed a few years ago. You see, right on my hand, it says Mommy. So that's why I have her kind of on my hand to keep her close. Also, my baby brother passed away, so he's on my hand as well. It's a chef thing, I guess. Like, I just want to, like, be inspired all the time. So having them on my hand is the closest I can have them in the kitchen with me. But yeah, this was one of her favorite desserts. So I kind of think about her a lot when I'm making this. All right, guys. So we're going to add our carrots, our shredded carrots. And you can add more or less of the carrots. It's totally up to you. It may look like a lot at first, but it's really not, especially because they're fresh carrots. So yeah, we're going to mix those first. As you can see, it already looks pretty good, right? And then, you know what time it is, we're going to add our walnuts. If you're allergic, skip this step, but I'm going to add my toasted walnuts to my carrot cake. And you can use more or less if you're not allergic. It's totally up to you, and it's your preference. I've actually made carrot cake a few times without the nuts and just kind of use the nuts as a garnish. Let's move on. Here we got, well, I already greased the other three, so I'm going to show you how I grease my cake pans. Just put a little butter at the bottom, and then using my parchment paper. This is parchment paper. I also spray my parchment paper as well, and you'll see how easily my cakes just come right out of here. So you want to make sure you grease those nice from top to bottom. Even your parchment paper, you want to spray that as well. It's better to be safe than sorry. Now I'm just adding my cake batter to all 4 of my cake pans and just kind of like bang it on your counter just to get the air out, just to make sure it's nice and even in your cake pan. And here is a close-up of all 4 of my layers. And yes, I used all of my batter in the oven on 325 degrees for about 30 minutes. And here, while we wait for that, we're going to just get started with our cream cheese. So I have about 2 sticks of butter at room temperature and 8 ounces of cold cream cheese. So that's 2 sticks of unsalted butter and 8 ounces of cold cream cheese. Now, the only reason why I'm showing you guys these measurements is because I already made some cream cheese icing earlier, and I still have some left over. So normally I would double this. So it would be 4 sticks of butter and 16 ounces of cold cream cheese. But I already have some. So if you're making a smaller cake, you can follow what I'm doing here with the 2 sticks, because I am going to add the rest of my cream cheese icing to this mixture, but I don't need to make any more than what I'm making in the video. So we want to whip together our cream cheese and butter. Just get it nice and mix with our hand mixer, our lifesaver. We're going to add our vanilla. So we're going to add the vanilla to this. And here I have my powdered sugar. So I have about 4 cups of powdered sugar. And I'm going to fold this in and give it a whip. And just go back and forth, because you don't want to add all your powdered sugar at once because it's a mess. Powdered sugar is even more messy than flours, guys. Like, you can make a mess with flour, but with powdered sugar, it ain't no coming back. So I'm going to kind of just fold that into this butter mixture and add a little more. Looks like icing, right? Except for this is cream cheese icing. And you can make a buttercream if you don't like cream cheese icing. I'm just showing you the classic way to make carrot cake. Also, some people add raisins in their batter, not in this step, but in the step where we add our nuts and our carrots. Some people like to add raisins. Some people like to add cranberries. I've even seen recipes use crushed pineapples. So it's whatever. Like, you can play around with it. If you want to make it this way first and kind of get your taste for what you want to add next time, that's cool. But if you already know the flavors that you like, then there you are. So here is a final. This is when I'm done mixing in all of that confectionate sugar. And this is our nice thick cream cheese. All right. So after I incorporated the rest of my cream cheese from yesterday, I'm actually going to add a little bit of heavy cream to this. Yes. So I added some heavy cream to this because I didn't add it yesterday. And I was making actually that cream cheese icing was for it was just filling for some cupcakes, but I had so much left over. So as you can see, I have a nice healthy bowl of cream cheese icing, and I did add the heavy whipping cream to this. I've seen people use buttermilk, and some people even use whole milk. I like to use the heavy cream and just get me a nice smooth cream cheese icing for our cake. Look how smooth that is. It's almost mesmerizing. Like, My mama would be so proud because actually, well, not proud as in like she taught me how to cook, because my mom didn't know how to cook for nothing. But she would be so proud because she loves carrot cake, and I kind of perfected the recipe a little better over the years since she's been gone. But yeah, I'm excited to show you guys how to do this for the holidays. And you can see the consistency of our cream cheese icing. It's beautiful. It's not too thick. It's not too thin. It's beautiful. It's going to sit very well on our cake. I'm just giving you another view. So it's not too thick. It's definitely not too thin. You never want to make it too thin. But you do want to make sure that you mix it very well, because you don't want that gritty kind of, the confectionery sugar can get kind of gritty. So before I started icing my cake, I actually put my icing in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. My cakes are completely cooled. They have been cooling for about 3 hours. Of course, this video is sped up. I didn't make you guys watch my cakes cool for 3 hours, but they were cooling for about 3.5 hours. I just had them sitting on my counter, and you saw how easily that cake came out of that pan. It was like butter. Like, it's perfect. Another tip, in order to make a nice balanced cake, you want to flip your cake upside down. Now, for the top layer, you can always have that layer right side up. But for your layers of cake, I suggest flipping them upside down. That way, the surface is very flat. See up here, I just have a nice flat surface instead of having that little lump. So that's why I flip my cake upside down. And I do all my layers like that. Sometimes I even do the top layer like that, but for this cake, I did not. So this is layer 1. I'll show you guys one more layer. This is another cake. Look, perfect. See how it just comes out? Beautiful cake. It's so moist. And you see how flat and nice and even that is? So we're not having a hard time putting our layers of icing on here. And you can use more or less. It's really up to you. I like to get a healthy size of icing on my carrot cakes. Here we go. And then I'm going to do this two more times because I have 2 more layers. So it's total for 4 layers, but if you only have 2, you're almost done. I have a little bit more work to do, so I am going to speed this up. I'm probably not going to show you guys the other 2 layers because you kind of get where I'm going with this. So I did my other 2 layers, and yes. So basically, I added my other 2 layers. I use my pastry cutter to get that nice even translucent kind of icing on the side. I didn't want too much icing on the side because we do have so much in the middle of our layers. And then on top, I actually just piped a little bit on there, and my garnish is a little bit of cinnamon. And I did go to the store and purchase some glazed walnuts. That's why they have that shine. I didn't have to bake these or toast them or anything. If you want to use your toasted walnuts that you already did earlier, just make sure you set some aside. I did use my whole bag, so these were perfect and came in just in time. Here is how a slice of your beautiful cake should look. So I'm really excited about it. So you can see the inside. You can see little bits of carrots. You can see my walnuts. Yeah. So this is my carrot cake. And I hope you guys love this recipe. Let me know if you've tried it. That would be amazing. This is why I do the video, so we can kind of help each other. And here's another picture. So thank you so much for coming to my channel, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment.